mindsets from, from a local perspective, and you can convert this to your own country, nation, for those of you out there who are not in the United States, perhaps you could relate, let me know in the comments. But what we have is Aquarius has to be activated by Pluto because truth itself has to resurface to get back to authenticity. You have to recover truth, hidden truths, buried truths. And those truths are not just facts and data, but it's also truth of particular narratives that were held for so long that limits or inhibits our ability to find acceptance and respect for the differences of other people in their culture, religion, or whatever else it may be. And what really serves as a dominating narrative is white supremacy. When it comes to white supremacy, there's a great deal of insecurity, fear, and guilt. And this has those who are operatives of white Christian nationalism and white supremacy to uphold false narratives, even since the beginning of this corporation, United States Republic. Those narratives, falsehoods, and lies, it began the moment they stepped foot on soil here as settlers. And this is because the attempt to save face, damage control, attempting to protect their own image and reputation, and rewrite their resume. It was not successful for the most part. However, many of these false narratives continued on, and it's not only misleading, but it confuses context, meaning, and value, and how history is perceived and how the story unfolds in itself since those settlers came here. This really has its basis in unum sanctum and the spread of the Spanish Inquisition through the doctrine of discovery, as well as the Khazarians' enterprise of transatlantic slavery, all working together in harmony to steal land, oppress, push genocide, take claim of what did not belong to them through the manifest destiny. And lies had to cover the tracks. Deception had to cover the tracks. Because so much land was the point, to steal as much land as possible. Identities had to be covered. Identities had to be reassigned, hidden, and confused. For example, I know that I come from a Cherokee lineage in one side of my family. And when we go back to the records of my great-grandmother, who had the full appearance of a Cherokee, as well as my father, you will see on her birth certificate, mulatto, which she was not a mulatto, she was a Cherokee of African descent or Moorish, and also the Asian or Asiatic descriptive identity of the Cherokee lineage. Aboriginal or indigenous to this land. And by changing such details, it makes you non-descendable in status. And when you are non-descendable, there is no claim, because you cannot claim proper jurisdiction and status because of a misconstrue of identity. It is the same with many of us who are indigenous here to these United States, this North American amexum, which includes also Central America, South America. Most of us were the Moorish tribes of this land, which included many native tribes, which were not only people of West African descent, of indigenous birthright to this land, far long before conquistadors and settlers came here. We instead were fed this false story that we all came from Africa through the transatlantic slave trade, that we would be renamed instead of Moors since 1861 or 65. It was during Lincoln's presidency, that instead of being called Moors, consistent also with the Christian black codes and the black codes later on, we were given a social designation as Negro, black, colored, and then later on by Jesse Jackson, under influence of the Skull and Bones 5013C, secret society, Yale University, influencers, we were titled with African American, which is a contradiction to classify a person under two continents. So it's truths like these in Revelation of Pluto from the underworld or underground that places proper status back on the indigenous peoples of the land, the proper narratives to make sense of what really unfolded. White supremacy did a job in subjecting the entire world under illusions, delusions, confusion, lies, false narratives, misconceptions, and blatant fabrications. And the whole point was to detach indigenous from natural claim of their estate, of the land as their own territory and the rights to it, that they would fall into non-descendable status, and they would keep that claim. And the same thing is taking place now with the Khazarians in Israel, as they attempt the same formula over the Palestinians. The Khazarians are not Jews, they are Jewish, fictitious claim, while the Palestinians are indeed Semitic. It's the other way around. But after some hundreds of years pass by, the textbooks will say that they gave them the land, or they are not Palestinians, they are some other made-up name. So we have to get back to the truth of things. White supremacy in and of itself, it lived off of lies, using the Bible and Christianity as weaponry, as witchcraft, as deception, while many other people clung to it for hope and religious security in themselves, according to the limitations of their understanding. And it's the same with Zionism and Judaism. Of course, Zionism is not Judaism, but it hides under the guise of that cultural sentiment and religious sentiment safely. So there are many truths to be revealed. And today, the people are no longer under the spell. They're no longer believing the lies and the false narratives that white males insecurely described of history and set as the standard narratives of what happened and how it happened. the ideas that philosophical thought, sciences, art, architecture, mathematics, medicine, it began with white people. No, it began with Africans. It is narratives such as that. I'm just using a few examples that we have to get back to the truth of who is who did what, when, where, how, why, because the truth is what puts things in the proper perspective, and the truth is also where the proper claim and status of those in this earth can have justice. And so Pluto is bringing up the truths that are very difficult to swallow, that are hard to deal with and accept. And it challenges any illusions that we hold. It also challenges any places where we are believing a lie or where we are insisting on hiding away from what the truth demands of us. And with Aquarius, it has to do with the collective, the people, society overall. And white supremacy is what sets the context for so many layers of lies and deceptions and confusion, trickery, fraud, stealing, theft, murder, genocide. It is endless ill repute that is being exposed in layers. Crime in high places. And we have to pass through this. We have to acknowledge it. And we have to align with what we find to be true to get to the other side of that authenticity.
Is stated fairly. You make the observation in your book, and you say that you have said it many times when you were president of the United States, that no president is ever going to desert Israel, right?
Correct. I put it more bluntly. I said, as I told congressional leaders during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, no American president will let Israel go down the tube.
All right.
Democrat or Republican, it's not an issue.
That is stated fairly categorically, and yet in your book you make it clear at the same time that Israel really is not of any enormous strategic value to the United States anymore.
That's correct.
So why then would the United States continue to burden itself with huge loans, in some cases outright grants, to the Israelis, jeopardize possibly young American fighting men, when there is no strategic value involved, or little strategic
Because the
value?
United States is concerned by more than strategic values. That's maybe a weakness, but it's the way we are. And there are moral issues involved here. We don't have an alliance with Israel, as you know. They're not an ally of the United States in the technical sense. But we have a bond to Israel that's much stronger. It's a moral commitment. A moral commitment because of what happened during the Holocaust, and a moral commitment because it is a democracy, the only democracy in that area. And under the circumstances, that is why American presidents and the American people in the future will support all out the survival of Israel if it's attacked.
You've always been a very tough, pragmatic man. And I just wonder if you were the president of Israel and you heard Richard Nixon talking that way, or for that matter, heard any sitting American president talk that way, and say, but there's really no strategic value anymore, how much faith would you place in that kind of a moral commitment if push really came to shove?
If I were the president of Israel, I put a great deal of faith in it because of the track record of the United States, and also because he would know that that is the way the American people are. There is no doubt whatever of our commitment to Israel.
There are many things such as the fear-mongering. In earlier years, even before Jim Crow days and during Jim Crow days and as of lately, white Christian males have always set out to propagandize fear-mongering of black and indigenous people, so-called, which I refer to as Moors. And the idea is to make us look like monsters, to make sure that people are afraid of us. And they do the same thing when it comes to Muslims, Hispanics, anyone who is not a white male. They're vilified, they're made to look bad, made to look threatening, made to look like monsters from movies in Hollywood, the agendas of these media organizations. They are relentless to control other people's opinions about the different demographics, societies, cultures, and religions other than their own. So much money, energy, and effort is put into making monsters of Muslim people, making sure that you're afraid of them, making sure that you have your doubts about their integrity, their intentions, and whether or not you are safe around Muslims. Blowing up whole entire buildings, blaming it on Muslims, to generate the fear that they prefer to be in you of specific people. From Indiana Jones to many other Hollywood films, always seeing Muslims as violent, bloodthirsty monsters. Meanwhile, the real monsters go undetected and unrealized up until now. Now is the time where people are starting to see something isn't adding up. The truth is becoming more evident and more clear, and Pluto has not even passed the 3rd degree yet. We have a long way to go, and much truth is going to be revealed, and it's very clear that those who subscribe to white supremacy, they're very insecure, they're afraid, and the control and power that they once used to feel, the cloak of illusion that they used to hide behind in ideals of themselves as superior or great, nobody believes it. Nobody subscribes to it anymore, not even their own children. The children of these same white supremacists, they don't agree. They don't like it. They don't subscribe to it. In fact, they admire black people. And there is a wave of tolerance and acceptance among these youth today. They're not buying it. The fear-mongering, the control of one's perceptions and thoughts and opinions, and the division, the spirit of division that white males have mastered under the guise of Christian Zionism and nationalism, which is really Constantinian's will. So Pluto still has much to uncover, and running and hiding is not the solution. Clear your conscience. Clear your conscience. Don't hide from it. Don't run from it. Don't pretend like it's not there. You're only delaying the inevitable. Every one of us has a responsibility to this process, and that is to push the light, to push the unity, to confirm the truth, and to amplify truth and justice as much as we can within our capacity. Cowardice is not acceptable. Inactivity is not acceptable. And there is no spirituality without accepting yourself as a warrior. It's not possible.
From an early age. We don't talk enough about how conditioned we were, especially as Americans, to be Islamophobic from an early age. I don't think we understand just how deep that conditioning ran. I grew up in classrooms that taught me Muslims were dangerous, oppressive towards women, and that terrorist was practically synonymous with Muslim. We were spoon-fed propaganda through textbooks, movies, the news, and no one ever asked why we were being told those things and who benefited from us believing them. Our education system was and still is complicit. After 9/11, we were handed a story that 9/11 just happened as if it fell out of the sky one day. Nobody explained the context. Nobody told us about decades of U.S. involvement in the Middle East, the coups, the oil interests, the sanctions that killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. We were never taught that the U.S. helped overthrow Iran's democratic government in 1953 to protect oil profits, or that we armed and funded groups during the Cold War that would later destabilize entire regions, or that our war on terror killed far more civilians abroad than the number of Americans who died on 9/11. Instead, we were told that they hate us for our freedom, and we just believed it, because when you're a kid, you don't question authority, you repeat what adults tell you. Post 9/11 America became...
We're going to have to trust the Aquarian expressions of other people, the Aquarian realities of other people right now. And it's always going to be counterintuitive when we run into that. Counterintuitive. This is when, you look into another person's life, their circumstance, what they're dealing with or going through, especially with Pluto starting its transit in Aquarius. This could mean that every person is going to have an exchange with other persons and running into their Aquarian reality. The world is going to experience your Aquarian reality, and you're going to experience theirs. And it's going to be unorthodox, something you don't expect, counterintuitive, that doesn't naturally make sense in the first glance. But we got to trust that what somebody's seeing could possibly serve all of us. It could be the point of advancement. It could be the way out of the limitations of Saturn, Capricorn, and into the outer rings of Saturn, Aquarius. Because Pluto's involved, drama, crisis, hardships, very difficult truths to accept, pain, secrets revealed, power struggles, could very well manifest the Aquarian reality into our lives at this time. And you could see that in the other person, where somebody you know, somebody you're close to, they could be going through something that, from your perception, is a very simple fix. But I beg to differ. It's not always as it seems. I say that because, let's say somebody's going through the drama of facing rejection, isolation, or the black sheep effect concerning Aquarius, because they've come to the end of the rope of their tolerance with being controlled, shamed, insulted, guilt thrown upon them because somebody couldn't beat them into a form that they felt entitled to see them express themselves through. So they end up exiled. And you're looking at the person like, okay, why are you in this situation? Why are you going through this? All you have to do is just, you got this going on over there. You got that going on over there. Why you didn't just stay there? Why you just didn't stay at that job? Why you just didn't stay, in this family situation? Why didn't you just stay in that relationship? It's not as simple as that. Because many people are going to have those internal conflicts where I can't take another minute of not being myself. I can't take another minute of living for everybody else's limitations, insecurities, and ideals over me, concepts over me. And I refuse to feel shame for it, threatened, exiled and guilt tripped over it. No, I just refuse. I just can't deal with that anymore. I'm going this way. I'm choosing my freedom over that illusion of security. Choosing freedom over the illusion of security, this comes back to the balance that we have to find between Cancer-Jupiter expansion and the newly initiated Sagittarius-Juno transit. The soul this time wants to actualize its freedom, which at first glance it looks like a duality, a conflict, or having to choose between security and freedom. But let me tell you, that's not the case. That's the duality. Duality is always going to look like a square, a conflict. You have to choose one or the other. It's always going to look like that. That's duality. But when you ascend the duality into a unified perception from the higher frequencies, you'll arrive at wisdom, love, or unification. One of the three. Wisdom and love through Gemini, and unification through Pisces. That's when it may be visible that you really can't compromise and have both. You can have security and freedom and balance. But it requires you to innovate to establish that. Innovation starts with a very clear vision. Innovation is an act of a visionary. It's something you see. It's something you conceptualize that is not there, that has not yet manifest. What you see and conceptualize is through Neptune. Neptune at Aries, which now it is crossing over into Pisces, it asks, am I my own ideal? Am I the concept of my own knowing of myself, the I am? Am I consistent with that? As Neptune goes back into Pisces, it's detaching its conceptualized ideals from others, from programming, from propaganda, from fear tactics, from bullying, from control mechanisms and systems and orders. That has everything to do with how the Aquarius Pluto drama naturally manifests into our life, because it has us to challenge the status quo within family, a career, business or relationship, whatever the case may be, your position in society, what role you're playing, who you've been playing all this time, and now you see that it's not authentic. And it causes you to seek out your own empowerment to actualize that. That's when a revolutionary is born. A rebel is born. Because you realize the only way to actualize that is you have to be willing to fight. If you're not willing to fight, it ain't gonna happen. Freedom is not something that you ask for. Freedom is something that you take. If you think you asking for freedom, yeah, stand there and keep asking. And when we come back 100 years later, you'll still be standing your stupid ass there. You take that motherfucker. You know, they got a saying in Brooklyn. We don't ask, we take. That's the Brooklyn saying. We don't ask, we take. That's Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? We don't ask, we take. You remember what KRS once said? The Bronx keep creating it, Brooklyn keep on taking it. You know what I'm saying? That's why he said Brooklyn keep on taking it, Because everybody knows that that's a law of Brooklyn. That's the law in Brooklyn. You take. You don't ask, you take. You know what I mean? But when you see this going on in other people, other people's lives, don't be quick to judge. You gotta pause, and you have to be open-minded and meet the person where they are, because there's internal struggles going on that's leading to revolutions in everybody's life. Because the illusions of security, the illusions of stability are now being exposed for what they really are, and people are saying within themselves, this is not security, this ain't stability. I have to sell my soul to feel secure. I have to put aside who I really am, deny myself of what I know is innate in my nature, what is true to my nature, to have this or to be here or to remain in this status or to be a part of this or that. No, it's no longer worth it. And what's really encouraging our ability to feel emboldened in this is the fact that across the globe, people are losing things. They're losing a lot. But really what we're losing the attachments to what used to give us a false sense of security and stability. Materials, status, careers, false identities. There's no more hiding places anymore. You can't hide behind that anymore. I can't speak for other countries, but here in America, y'all let me know if y'all from a country outside of America, you know what I mean? But here in America, you can't hide behind that no more. I got a doctor's degree, I got a PhD, I got this degree, I'm a tech, I do this, I do that. Careers are now something that people see as disposable. They see as temporary. They see as unstable. You cannot put trust in a career. You cannot count on a career. Here today, going tomorrow. Look how many people have been laid off. The first wave was 300,000, now up to 900,000. And Trump wants to dump off more during the government shutdown. So there's no more faith and trust in jobs and careers as a point of stability or security. There's no longer the financing accessible to the common person, the working class person, to hide behind fake statuses. Where you go out and get all these loans and credit cards and debt financing to finance a fictitious lifestyle. A lifestyle that you can't afford. But you straining and burdening yourself on the bank so that you could appear to have a status that you really don't got. I'm wealthy. I'm well-to-do. I'm well off. I'm making it. I'm successful. I'm ahead of you in life. I got it going on. I got it made. Niggas is lying out here. Niggas been lying. But we just come to a point where nobody's able to lie about it anymore, about their status. People can't fake it no more. The internet had people for a long time trying to make other people think, believe, and convince the world that they have made these lofty status of themselves. I'm well-to-do. I'm paying all my bills. I'm ahead on this. I got me an expensive car. I got a big old nice house, gated community, the perfect kids, relationship status, relationship goals, and people have been fraudulent for a long time. The narcissism has been expanding and accelerating since the Obama era. And it ended. The respite of that ended during the South Node Libra transit. So narcissists are running and hiding right now. Narcissists have no place to hide right now. People who have beautiful appearance, beautiful on the outside, decorated, can muster a lot of attention and praise, validation, lust and things of that nature. They no longer can hide behind those things. The truth is being exposed. it's not real or accessible anymore. You know, where we've had since the Obama era, the corporate attitude, the consumer spirit, the get into the bag, money, 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 everything is money, the only value is money spirit. Capricorn. That was a Capricorn Pluto transit since the Obama era. And it ended with South Node Libra. And people have been faking these images and perceptions of themselves, and it led to a fever of narcissism moving throughout the society. And so with all this joblessness, layoffs, confusion in society, people don't know what to expect next. You know, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, Section 8, yada, yada. All these things are being gutted out and decentralized to where nobody has access anymore to create a fictitious image and lifestyle of themselves, replicating financial and economic success and status. People have no choice but to keep it real now. I think you and I would be surprised at how many people are running and hiding from the consequences of upholding that lie, the pressure of keeping that lie going, that I got it made, I'm ahead of you, I'm above you, I'm doing better than you, I'm that nigga, I'm that bitch, I'm a boss babe, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, people are exposed now, and they're hiding from that exposure. They don't want to be exposed, hiding behind rocks, trying to make last a little bit longer before somebody knows what the real status is. Sooner or later, they got to come out of hiding. But this is a wave that's moving through, and it's curing us, it's purging us. This is a South Node Virgo number 9 Hermit card effect. If you have life path number 9, you know all about this energy. I have life path number 9. You know what I'm saying? I can have whatever I want for the kingdom of heaven, but it's very limited what I can have for my own exploitation and indulgences. You see what I'm saying? That's the rules and laws of being subjected to the life path number 9, because the 9 is a prophet. The 9 is a messenger. So the 9 cannot be exploited in the spirit. So if anything in your life becomes a distraction to the evolution of your spirit and to the refinement of your spirit, you will lose it. You will be distanced from it. You will be blocked from it. You will not have access to it. And it's in order to preserve the spirit, the integrity of the spirit. If you want a deep insight into the number 9, life path, heart, soul, urge, which for all of us is a subjugation of the South Node Virgo, you can scroll down my video list and you can find the video for life path number 9. You know, hopefully I'll remember to link it in the comment section. If not, please remind me to link that video if you're listening right now so that I could do it. You know what I mean? So you could get the deep dive on the life path of heart, soul, urge number 9. Same for number 7. I have a video on that for the North Node. Okay. But anyway, it's working against the detriment of Venus. Okay. Spoiling of the spirit, spoiling of the consciousness, distraction, indulgence. Look at the things that we had the luxury to argue and go back and forth about in this society. Oh, what do you bring to the table? I'm getting to the bag. 50-50 relationship. You gonna buy me this, you gonna buy me that. Y'all niggas broke, y'all niggas lame. You know, it's childish things that people have been going back and forth about behind this spirit. And it's taken precedence along how we approach the context of relationships across the board. And it has ruined our depth. It has limited our depth. We can't get to the depth of ourselves. We're surface, superficial, fake, phony. Nothing lasts. You can't have real, true, lasting connections with other people because of the superficiality. You got the baby hairs gelled down on your wig, makeup on just right, jewelry on and all this other stuff, expensive vehicles, your gated community, finance lifestyle, stressing yourself out, prostituting yourself out to careers and pulling tricks and schemes to get by, selling your soul. And we have warped ourselves in this society of our moral integrity. We have warped ourselves of moral integrity. That's a crisis, and it's being expanded again through Cancer Jupiter transit. We're getting back in touch with that. But we can't get back in touch with that if we have access to all the things that led us astray in the first place, which was our addictions and acts of escapism through Venus. We can't have access to those things while we are going through this purging and realignment with our moral integrity and status. So, what looks like deprivation, what looks like losses, what looks like we have little when we lack, it's an exchange. That's part of the meaning of the number 9 heart, soul, urge, and life path vibration numerology. That number 9, it saves you from the detriment of Venus so that you can reclaim the faculties and forces and gifts and treasures of the spirit. As you lose these things, you regain portions of yourself that are heavenly. You regain spiritual powers, forces, energies, access. That consumerism, consumption, materialism, and lust has distracted and deprived you of. It's a download of our godly nature. It's a download of what really matters as value in this reality, given the proper context of Venus value, rather than the improper, the superficiality, and the temporal. That's being restored. So we have to lose things. We have to minimize to get to that image of integrity in ourselves. Otherwise, we can't connect to it because we're hiding behind things. So as we lose things, the spirit gets clarified. As we lose status, we gain status in heaven. As we lose status in earth, it's an even exchange. And we should surrender to it. We should accept it, align with it, and we're always going to find that abundance will never leave us. We will always have abundance. We will always have what we need. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be in agreement with what expectations are upon you from the status quo in society, with all the NPCs walking around, like cartoon figures in the background, lifeless, replicating each other. The dead bodies walking, the fucking zombies. It's a higher way to see it. And seeing it from the higher way is seeing it the true way. You have to view from heaven. Heaven is coming down to earth. On earth as it is in heaven. That's happening right now. So the density has to be lost. The density has to dissolve. We have to detach from the density so that we can get fuller into the spirit. And that's exactly what's happening with what appears to be losses of status and things. You know what I mean? So anyway, tell me what you think about that. How does that relate to your reality personally? You know what I'm saying? Share, so we can learn a few things from you too. You heard? And if you have some of these number 9 themes going on in your life, I can help you to understand them better by looking at your Virgo and Venus placements and themes, so that we can have some clear perspective on how that number 9 is applying to your life. For yous out there who maybe life path number 9, heart soul urge number 9, or you might be a different life path and heart soul urge, and you want to relate to what this energy can mean in context to you and what you got going on, facing losses or whatever else. There's a perspective to have, and I can help you with that. I can help you to clarify that. You know what I mean? Just, get in touch with me so I can help you out. Understand that. Also, if there is a collective in your community, okay, who may need this astrological understanding from any context, okay, socially or spiritually, whatever else, where there may be, say, 12 or more, 20 or more people, okay, let me know, so I can show up to clarify, especially if it has to do with, with youth, okay, with youth in your community. I would love to come and clarify, whatever those subject matters are. And if you have, young people in your family that you're just not understanding, you don't know how to approach, you don't know where they're coming from or how to, reach them or talk to them or what they're suffering, they won't open up to you. Astrology is a way to clarify these things without taking assumptions. You know what I mean? So I'm a community resource, but you have to utilize me to get the benefit of that resourcefulness. Understand? So anyway, like, share, subscribe, show your support, all that. You heard? The infamous